And what's your story?
My story. It's exactly the same as your story, just one chapter behind. I chased a man across the 7 seas. The pursuit cost me my crew, my commission, and my life.
You know, I find it really fascinating that the YouTube film community, as well as a ton of subreddits online, yes, I have no life to notice, sue me, have essentially started this weird obsessive campaign for this obscure side character written to be unlikable, when he's actually just not. This community is in shambles defending this mistreated buffoon that the writers go out of their way to be an annoying roadblock for the supposed real heroes of the movie. This is the sad, yet hilarious case of John Walker.
Junior varsity, Captain America.
This is the guy who was supposed to be on the same team as the heroes, this honorable guy trying to do the right thing and track down the actual threats of the movie. But the heroes just dunk on him the whole time before he is pushed to the edge and kicked to the curb by everyone around him. Then he has to go on this whole journey of redeeming himself and getting his life back on track in the sequels. If you've been watching the screen the whole time as I've been talking about John Walker, you'll notice that this is a formula that was done on another character in another major franchise that has taken the blockbuster world by storm. That's right, before everyone cried for Walker, there was a similar character who also went through the ringer even though he was trying to do the right thing. In this video, I want to discuss the most underrated character in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, James Norrington. I want to discuss the role his character plays, as well as who he is and how he's so well written for the franchise. I want to prove that Norrington should be remembered too, and is everything John Walker wishes he would be. Well, mainly in the good writing department, that is.
What is your role with them?
So before we jump into who Norrington is and why he's just so darn lovable, spoiler alert, he's just an adorable dummy and a good guy at heart. But we really have to first understand the role he plays in the story and define this obscure term of the sympathetic strawman. Well, for that, we're going to go with old reliable here and copy someone else's work. I'm going to play the clip of the video that went viral and took the video essay community by storm in how it characterized John Walker as the sympathetic strawman. Let's roll tape.
The job of this strawman character, even when working alongside the protagonist towards the same end goal, is to stand against the main character's methods and actions. As the main protagonists are what the audience are supposed to be attached to, we are expected to see their views and methods as the correct response to the situation at hand, with the strawman character being in the wrong because their opinion is supposed to be wrong.
So yeah, essentially John Walker is supposed to be written as a foil to a supposed goody-good pure protagonist. It asks the question, what if Captain America was evil? Now what's interesting is that the MCU completely shits the bed in writing him, as he is actually not doing anything wrong compared to the protagonists who actually are. But then, he is the one that is constantly getting punished, for none other than my favorite reason of bad writing. But I'm not going to keep yapping about this bozo. If you're interested in his deconstruction and why the writers did a bad job, I'd highly recommend checking out the rest of the Sympathetic Strawman video. But here, I want to talk about Norrington. Well, I showed y'all this example of who John Walker is because Norrington essentially serves the same purpose in the plot. He is supposed to be on the same side as our protagonist in the mission at hand, but is supposed to be doing things in the wrong ways. In fancy terms of the film community, Norrington takes the role of something called an anti-villain. Now this is kind of an interesting term, as most people tend to be familiar with the concept of the anti-hero, a character who is essentially the protagonist but has a lot of negative or immoral qualities rather than those heroic ones like bravery, kindness, all that boring good stuff.
Useless crap like that.
Think characters like Deadpool, Tony Soprano, or even the notorious Heisenberg.
You're goddamn right.
But anti-villains are a bit different. They're the complete opposite of the anti-hero in that they serve as the antagonist instead of the protagonist, and have noble and moral qualities of a hero, many times even being on the same side as our protagonist, working towards the same goal, but in the wrong way.
They say you're the bad guy.
Is that what they say?
Examples include characters like Magneto, Snape, John Walker, or of course, Norrington. When the protagonist is a criminal, cop characters usually fall under this role too, like The Rock from Fast 5, or my personal favorite, Tommy Lee Jones from The Fugitive.
I didn't kill my wife! I don't care!
So the reason that this is important is because as an anti-villain, Norrington has to oppose our protagonists, yet still be kind of a good dude. Well, like the cop characters I just listed, Norrington kind of falls into the same boat as being this noble commodore who stands against piracy and crime overall. He's essentially a fancy British cop in the 1700s. Well, at least until he loses all that in the sequel.
No, not anymore. Weren't you listening?
What makes him stand out a bit more to me though is that he isn't just motivated by honor and doing the right thing, but has this other complex part inside him that challenges that.
He's in love with a girl.
And with that, let's finally talk about the man of the hour just a little bit more. In order to best understand Norrington, I think what we should do is slowly go through his scenes throughout the movie to see how he works as a foil to our protagonist, while being his own character with his own complex set of morals. So let's get started. The first Pirates of the Caribbean starts off from the perspective of a young Elizabeth Swann, who serves as our protagonist. She's fascinated by pirates, but the Royal Navy and her father see them as notorious criminals. This is where we first meet Norrington, and he is introduced as your stereotypical, narrow-minded, yet moral cop character. He is seen to hate pirates, and in that same scene, still saves a young boy, who we later find out is Will Turner, our other protagonist and his competition for Elizabeth. This is further emphasized in the next scene, where in the present, Elizabeth's father is all like, "Norrington likes you," but in fancy British terms, of course. This is the first part of Norrington's character I want to discuss. He's actually part of a good love triangle. Shocking, I know, with how most love triangles in film are low-key a lazy and stupid plot device for drama. But it actually works here. The movie from the start emphasizes that Will Turner is the character to root for, but doesn't make you absolutely hate Norrington. If the original flashbacks of them in the past isn't enough to show you, I think the scene introducing Will in the present is such a subtly amazing way to make you root for him as a character. Him accidentally breaking this candle ornament thing, yes, I forgot what those are called, is just a funny way to make him an underdog. Also, I feel like every time I watch this movie with new people, trying to understand Norrington's age difference with Elizabeth always comes up. Like, she's definitely 10 in the flashbacks, and then 8 years have passed, we know that, and she's probably 18 in the present. But what about Norrington? He already seems like a fully fledged adult in the flashback, and now we're supposed to find out that he's had the hots for a girl that he's seen grow up? I don't know, that's kinda weird. But maybe that's an old British thing, who knows. So yeah, Norrington isn't off to the best start as of right now. He's skeptical of pirates and dismissive of Elizabeth in the past, all while having the hots for her over time. Don't worry though. Things get better from here, I promise. Let's talk about his next scene where he gets his promotion and talks to Elizabeth. I love how he talks to her kind of awkwardly, showing his feelings and how he isn't this cocky guy. I also love that when she faints and falls into the rocks, he immediately wants to jump in after her. Like, that's his first instinct, and that shows you immediately this is a good guy. Since he can't jump in the water, him and the rest of the officers still go to save her and come in contact with the icon of Jack Sparrow.
Captain Jack Sparrow, if you please.
Well, I don't see your ship. Captain?
I'm in the market, as it were.
God, do I love this next exchange. As much as people love to use this scene to show Jack's cleverness, I also think people underestimate Norrington in this scene. He kind of goes toe-to-toe with witty Jack when it comes to clever remarks, and even detects that Jack is a pirate. It's only when Jack threatens Elizabeth does Norrington have to take a step back, as his weakness is having a genuine care for her. So even though Jack escapes, Norrington is seen as a competent British official with high morals and a care for one of our protagonists. As the initial conflict of the movie then begins to develop, with the pirates invading Port Royal, Norrington also assumes command, with helping to shield Elizabeth's bumbling father, and when Elizabeth is taken, I love the exchange he has with Will, where he is all like, "Buddy, I care about her too, I just have a job and rules to stick with." So while our protagonist of Will tries rash tactics to save Lizzie, Norrington has a job to do. For the themes of the movie, and because Will is made to be the more likable protagonist, his actions are seen as the correct ones because he is doing any means necessary to save the woman he loves, even if they're all a little stupid. But I don't think this takes away from Norrington's character at all. What does kind of take away is when Jack outsmarts him, takes the fast ship, and then dunks on him. To me though, he's kind of seen as this lovable loser here though, so I'll allow it. Plus it has this funny ass exchange, which I think is just so good.
That's got to be the best pirate I've ever seen.
So it would seem.
Anyways, we then get a break from Norrington for the next hour of the movie, as he kind of serves as the initial roadblock for the protagonist before the adventure is set into motion in Act 1. What's cool is that this movie gets such a large focus on this Jack, Will, and Elizabeth against Barbossa, where we get to see how bad pirates can truly be, that we kind of forgotten about Norrington and the British. And one thing we realize is that they were kind of right. However, after Lizzie gets herself and Jack saved by them on the island, we see our goat again. Norrington comes back and we get to see him deal with what he wants versus what is right. And it's not like he spells it out for us either. The actor who plays Norrington, Jack Davenport, does a great job with his facial reactions in showing both innocence, joy, and contempt when Lizzie offers to marry him if they save Will. One thing I always get a little sad about is that there was actually a deleted scene in the first Pirates movie where Norrington actually questions Lizzie's decision.
I'm concerned that your answer was perhaps less than sincere.
This just further shows his moral complexity and how he just wants true love. He doesn't want to force anyone to do anything. We then get the third act of the movie, where all parties come together in an epic showdown. And we see that Norrington wants to save Will, but he doesn't want to do exactly what Jack says, showing he is smart enough not to constantly fall for pirate tricks. The climax then mostly focuses on Jack, Barbossa, Will, and Lizzie. But hey, Norrington does get his own little musical theme and shit, so that's kinda cool. Once Barbossa is defeated though, we get the small little epilogue to conclude things, and there we see that Norrington knows that all of this is wrong, but he has to go through with it. After Will's botched rescue attempt, that Norrington also predicted, mind you, we get one of the best character moments I have ever seen in the movie. The scene where Norrington lets go of his vows he disagrees with to once again prove he can do the right thing. He realizes Lizzie truly loves Will, and lets her go in a moment that is truly touching, as well as compliments him. He also is shown to respect Will with the sword line, showing he knew that Will was skillful all along. He even lets Jack go, which does lead to consequences for him in the next movie, but from the ending of this one, it does make for a great character turnaround that actually makes sense. See, the character growth that Norrington undergoes in this movie here happens fairly off-screen, but the movie does a good job of showing that it is happening. Norrington is having these internal moral dilemmas. In the first movie, he goes from this self-righteous officer we're meant to root against to someone who begins to change and partly embrace piracy as the right thing sometimes. Now, I really don't want to go too in-depth into the sequels, as I really wanted to focus on his character in one movie and how it changes, and this video is already long enough as it is, but I do want to touch on it just a little bit, because I do think the direction they take his character is kind of great. I like that he becomes the very thing he swore his life against, a pirate. Then he has to go on this journey to get his honor back with the whole MacGuffin of that movie, the chest. Then when he does achieve it, ends up doubting if it was the right choice in the third movie, and in the end, his arc comes full circle, where he chooses to do the right thing one last time and saves Lizzie, but dies in the process. Just an amazing arc overall, but let's finally touch on what makes his character so brilliant, and how he perfects the idea of a sympathetic strawman all those years ago. Now, as I briefly mentioned before, Norrington has a solid character arc, even if most of his development isn't fully shown. However, what makes his mini arc interesting is that it makes sense and doesn't seem to come out of nowhere. He was always an honorable guy, and as the movie goes on, his honor and love for Lizzie is tested, and it never works. When he makes the decision at the end of the movie, he adheres to his beliefs and goes through the right thing of letting Lizzie and Jack go. He may start the movie as a whatever love interest who is the competition to the more likable underdog of Will Turner, but by the end, he's maintained his honor while it's constantly being tested throughout the movie in his role as an anti-villain. He may be an antagonist, but it's his decision at the end of the movie that lets the protagonist succeed, which is actually really cool. I would argue that by the end, he's grown to be so likable while not achieving the things he truly wanted, like his marriage to Lizzie. Low-key, he becomes the underdog that we want to root for. I mean, Jack literally even echoes this multiple times.
I want you to know that I was rooting for you.
Still rooting for you, mate.
I mean, it's not like he's downright made to be hateable, but rather seen as the opposing viewpoint of pure honor, rather than moral ambiguity in piracy. He's on the wrong side of what the movie is trying to prove, so even though he wants to do the right thing, it's not supposed to be the correct approach. This is not only what makes him the anti-villain, but also a character not bogged down by bad writing. Unlike John Walker, who is likable when he isn't supposed to be, Norrington is grown to be likable through his actions in adhering to the theme and letting the protagonists go. When it comes to being the love interest for Lizzie, Will is supposed to be the underdog and is more likable overall until the very end. Then Norrington, however, becomes more complex as he has become beaten down and we are partly rooting for him to gain any level of success. He has earned our respect and likability. It's not often when an adventure movie from decades ago takes a side character and has him grow and become likable as an anti-villain. Characters like Steve Harrington from Stranger Things, or John Walker, as we've compared him to numerous times in this video, have low-key been trying to make a good anti-villain when a character was done like this, a good blueprint, a long time ago in James Norrington. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please tell me your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about James Norrington? Is he as iconic of a character as Jack Sparrow? Okay, probably not. But he is an iconic character, and I want to argue that until the day I die. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and check out my other videos on this channel. Subscribing really helps me out, so if you can, please do so. Also, follow my Instagram account, @Filmski07. Follow me and subscribe to the channel. Thanks again, and hope you enjoyed my video. Bye.